Hey there, welcome to today's episode. It's going to be a live unedited session, so apologies for any background noise. We're going to make a beat with Koala Sampler. Thought we'd do this live and unedited today just for a bit of a change. And what we can do is we can start by creating a recording because we can screen capture from our device and import that into Koala Sampler and then use that bit of audio. So that allows us to take samples from Spotify, places like that, or in this case, I want to use this Numa player, which I believe is a free application. I'll put a link to it in the description. You can see it's a bunch of Rhodes type pianos, that type of thing, electric pianos. Just sounds really nice. There's some effects and stuff you can apply in here, but we're just going to keep it pretty basic. I'm going to enable a screen recording, and then all I have to do is just try and create some kind of loop or something that I want to play around with as our fake sample. So we'll just noodle around until we find something that we like. It doesn't have to be anything particular. Maybe kind of just some kind of off-key, darker kind of vibe thing. I don't know. There we go. You can tell I don't play the piano. Let's stop the recording. But that's all I want sometimes. It's just a piece of audio that we can begin to build on. It's a seed of an idea. So let's go over here. We're inside of Koala Sampler. We'll go to import video. And of course, it's going to bring up anything inside of your library. Did a test of that before just to make sure it was recording properly. But we're going to take this video here because that's our little piece that we want. And then if we go to sample, and we open up the edit window, we can just drag this to wherever we want it. So over here somewhere, yeah, that's the little bit of audio that we're going to use. Sounds pretty terrible, but hopefully we can make something out of it. So we'll crop it, we'll normalize, but I can see it's already kind of peaked out in terms of its volume. We're going to send this to a mix bus, so we'll send it to bus A, and that way we can apply some effects to this. So anything that we load up onto bus A, I'm going to start with maybe a little drive. I want to push it a little bit with the drive and the saturation so that it starts to kind of distort a little bit, just crusty it up a touch. That's the idea, at least. So what we'll do here is we'll just up the drive a little bit and just play our sample. So we want to make that a little heavier. Let's really push it. Yeah, that's better. We start to gritty the thing down. Now it's going to be an increasing gain, so I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. And then let's go back and add some other effects to this as well. We could try a little tape delay, something like that. And we can play around with like the wow amounts and the speed as well. So it's going to start giving it a kind of wobbly sort of vibe. Yeah, let's dial the drive back a touch. That might be a little bit heavy-handed once it gets into the higher frequencies. But yeah, kind of like that gritty vibe. I'm going to go into samples. And right at the very beginning of your sample folder, if you go into packs, this is like the basic stuff that came with Koala Sampler. Inside of the sound effects, there is some vinyl static noise. And this one sounds pretty good. So I'm going to actually put that onto the same pad, I think, just so that we've kind of combined those two samples. I just want to hear what they both sound like, though, in terms of volume before I do that. Yeah, so I don't want this static to be as loud as that. Let's bring that down a bit. Want it to be more subtle, so then we can drag and we can just combine the two. We're going to mix them together, and then I can get rid of that. And with our little sample, we've now added a bit of vinyl static to it. I'm then going to chop it up. So let's go to auto chop. I like to manually do things, so might just split that one there. good enough. We chopped it up. We're going to put them into the same choke group. So choke group 1, and make sure they're one shots and chop it up. So now we've got a bunch of chops. Can noodle around with those in a second. First, let's go to samples and find some drums that we can play with as well. I'm going to go to this randomly named folder and go into my drums. I'm going to use one of my own sample packs, which is Black Drums Volume 3, because I want vinyl samples. That's what I'm looking for, vinyl sounding drums. Let's go to Black Drums Volume 3 and take a look. That one sounds good enough to me. It's got a little bit of crunch to it. And let's find something else. Hi-hats. I like that one. Play them together just to make sure it sounds okay. And then let's find a snare drum to go along with that. Maybe that one. Looking for something relatively lo-fi. Yeah. Feels good together. So then we can start building kind of a drum loop, drum sequence. What I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate all of these three so that we can create variants of those particular drum sounds. I'm just going to give myself a little bit more volume. So we'll create variants. The way that I'm going to do that, I'm going to go into settings. And I'm just going to make sure in the general tab, pitch knob, snap to semitone is off for a moment. I usually keep it on, but you'll see why. This is the copy of our kick drum. Let's go to edit. And I want to pitch this down, but I want to fine tune it. I don't want it to snap to a semitone. So we're just going to fine tune it a little bit. We'll just tune it down a touch so that it's just different to the first kick drum. There's a slight tone, pitch variation. And speaking of tone, that is what we're going to do. We're going to take this second one, take a little bit more of the high end out of it. So it's a little bit more kind of thuddy. And do exactly the same with our hi-hats. We'll just pitch one of them down. Doesn't matter which one, really. And take a little bit of tone out of that as well. Essentially, your tone slider is high pass, low pass. That's really what it's doing. So we're taking some of the high end out when we move it to the left. Here's our snare drum, exactly the same on the second snare drum, just pitch it down a touch. And the same deal again, just a tiny little bit though. Don't want it to be too lo-fi in comparison to the first snare drum hit. But when we put the drum loop together, it just adds a little bit of realism because not all of the drum hits are exactly the same. So then we can go to our sequence and we can choose a BPM for the project. Currently set it 100 something, whatever I was last playing with. Let's set it at I don't know, relatively slow today. I'm thinking like 73 BPM. Let's open this up. We know we've got a bunch of chops at the top. But our drums start here. We'll start with one bar. Looking for my second kick. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to make these single 1/16 notes. And then once you've moved it inside a Koala, it remembers. So when I start drawing in notes now, it remembers whatever the last size was, which is quite clever. Get rid of those. But we just want them small like this. There's my second kick drum. Let's put that there. We'll just do a very basic pattern for now, and then we'll try and jazz it up a little bit. Snare drums here. Slight variation at the end. And then with the hi-hats, we'll just put those kind of, we'll kind of alternate those throughout, like this. And I kind of like that. That kick drum's got a little bit of like vinyl static or noise or some crust in there, but sounds pretty cool. A little bit of velocity variation on my hi-hats, as I usually do, just because I don't like them all hitting at the same volume. Again, just more realism to your drum breaks, your sequence drums. And with this, let's add in, I don't know, let's add in another little hi-hat here and make that kind of low. Just so it's got that little moment of interest before we move over. We'll duplicate it into 2 bars, and then we'll add in, I don't know, maybe like a little ghosty snare at the very end. Maybe even another little snare drum in here somewhere. Bring the velocity down on that one as well. Good enough. Let's then add a little ride cymbal. Big fan of ride cymbals. I think British Music Library will have some, so we'll go into rides. And I like the sound of that one. Let's load that one up. It's quite a nice long sample. We'll go to the sequence and we're just going to put that across the board. And then I'm going to change the velocity for these, just randomize it a little bit so that, again, the drum hits aren't all the same volume. Got a problem there because this is not a one-shot sample. So let's put it into one-shot mode. And for me, typically, I'll probably bring the volume down a little bit. Yeah, okay. We'll adjust that later on because there's a couple of things with ride cymbals that I might tweak. One of them being the pitch. I might actually pitch those a little bit now, though, just while we're here. I'm going to go back to settings and turn my semitones snapping back on. And I don't know, pitch these down 2 semitones. Down 5 semitones is pretty nice, kind of darker feel to everything. We'll change this a little bit in terms of the tone, just dial that back a bit. We can tweak it later on, but for now I just want to push them into the background. So let's go back to our chops. And I might pitch all of those as well. Let's take all of them by holding down the edit button and pitch them down, I don't know, 2 semitones. I actually like 4 semitones more, so just going to edit, but I won't select that one because we've already done that one. Let's just take these and bring it down to 4 semitones. We'll keep it real simple. Let's just record something like that in. And actually, it's a little quick on that first sample slice. I wanted to let that ring out a little bit more. So we can undo and get rid of those. We need to look wherever the chops are. They're up there at the very top. Let's undo those. Let's try that again. If I didn't mess up the timing. And actually, I think what I'm going to do, quickly just delete those. Let's try turning the snapping off. So in terms of quantization on the sequence, or quantizing when we're recording in, let's turn that off and try it again. Quickly inside of the sequence, because we don't have quantization on, I might just tweak this and put that back to the beginning of the loop just to make sure it's kind of tight there. The same over here, because you'll see my kind of playing my timings off. I can put the snapping back on here inside of the grid as well, quantization. All right, good enough. So that's kind of, couple of layers. We got some drums and we got these kind of sample chops. We want to build on this idea. And you'll notice if I've still got that application open, I haven't MIDI mapped my main pads inside of Koala. If I go into piano mode, then it will let me take, I don't know, whatever one of these samples we select. And we can do that, but you can hear I've still got the other application open in the background. So as long as I don't have that enabled, we're still listening to the Numa Player app. So I can get an idea for what I want to record. Might not be perfect because of the way that we're going to do this, but just going to take that little idea. Just let that finish recording for a second. And then I'm going to bring that into Koala Sampler as well. It's going to take a second, take this recording. And there we go, we got that little piece of audio here. Yeah, all right. Timing's not 100%, but that's okay. Cool. So there we go. We've brought in a couple of samples that we just created using another application, and it's a pretty simple process. Obviously, we're relying a little bit on timing, things like that, but it's okay. We've got that added. I might add this to a new bus B. And over on bus B, I'm going to add the same tape delay, and again, make that a little kind of wobbly. Maybe take the mix down on this one. And we'll go back to the tape delay, and then we'll change the timing of the delay using the milliseconds. We'll kind of just dial that into where we think it sounds okay. Yeah, I kind of like it like that. It's a little bit faster. So there's a couple of layers. Let's bring in a bass line of some sort. So we'll go to samples. And one thing I will have to do is close out the Numa player, because otherwise it'll cause us problems. So let's leave that closed, and let's find ourselves a little bit of bass. So again, one of my own sample packs. I know I've got bass samples inside of C notes, bass. Load up this one. We'll make sure this is set to one shot. We could change the release as well, by the way. We don't have to just put it into one-shot mode. I'm going to do that because it's just an easy hack. But if you want to, you could change the release, and then it would play for, depending on how long you keep your finger on the pad, that type of thing. So let's leave it like that. The one thing, because it's a bass line, I'm going to put it into a choke group of its own. I'm just going to use choke group 3 so it doesn't interfere with anything else. And then if we select this particular sample, I'm going to put this into keyboard mode, and then we can play that bass sample. It's also a little loud probably, so let's bring it down a touch. I kind of like that. might filter it out a little bit more. It's already pretty low. There's not going to be a lot of high-end information in there. Now, there's no automation inside of Koala Sampler, so it makes doing a couple of things a little bit tricky. Let's say I wanted a little bit of delay on that very end note in terms of this bass sample. What we can do is we can resample, essentially, to get it to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to solo the bass line. Like that. And really what I want is when that final note kicks in, I want that to kind of delay out. A way that I would achieve that is to go and set this. So what we want to do, we want to send this bass note to another bus. Let's go to bus C. And we'll use standard delay, which I will sync. And set this to something like 1/8 notes. We can just try it and see what that sounds like. And actually, it's kind of cool on the first note as well. So maybe we want it on the first note and then on the end note. How do we automate it? Well, you can't automate it, but we can kind of cheat by turning that on and off whilst this is kind of playing. So what we'd have to do is we'd have to be over in Perform. We'd have to open up the delay. And it's a little bit annoying because it'd be kind of cool if you could get access to the play button, is what I'm trying to say. For now, though, we need to be resampling. So we're going to set this to resample from the main outputs. I'm just going to turn this on. We will capture a bunch of stuff we don't want, but we'll probably capture stuff we do want as well. So let's just leave that recording. It's resampling from the device itself. Let's move over and we're going to hit play. I'll let that one just have everything, but we're going to start it again. I'm going to turn it off. And then back up. Just at the very end there. So if we stop that, we need to take solo off. We should have our bass line created, which will be probably from here. So this was the first take, which is no good to us. We want it from here. You get the idea. So we've recorded that and we've kind of captured it with that automation, if you like, where we kind of automated it and recorded it in. It's hacky. It's the way that you have to do it on Koala Sampler, but it's entirely possible. So we can keep that bass note for now. I'll just mute it out. I'm going to keep this copy though, and we're going to crop that down. I'm going to normalize it. And then what we'll do over here is we will go back to our sequence where we can put that information in. Now this should be the bass line. So if we turn this off for a second, this one is our bass, but we've muted it, so it doesn't matter. This is the new sample, so we should be able to put it in at the beginning. Make sure that's playing. We want to make sure we're not sending that to any other buses or anything, so it's not doubling up on the effect, but there we go. One slight issue here is a volume dip as well. The way we've been kind of resampling, you can see even from the waveform that that's a little bit louder. So to kind of compensate for that and fix it, I'm going to move this one over. And we'll just take the first note here, which we can leave already set up. And what we could do is we can increase the volume till it's probably about as loud as it's going to go. I could even chop that, but for now it should be okay. And then on this one, we need to start over here and just put that into the sequence. Really, we should probably put them into the same choke group so they don't overlap at all. But for now, we'll just see if we get away with it. And then if this one is turned up, this one is like this. Inside of the sequence, I'm looking for where we put that bass note, which we put it in here. And I'm just trying to work out where it begins and where it stops. So it's kind of doubling up at the moment. Let's do it like that. And it's just, that's too loud now. So let's turn that down a bit to compensate. Rather than getting too bogged down with that, that's where we'll kind of leave it for now. But a couple of little things I wanted to show you there, because automation would be nice inside a Koala Sampler if you could just record whatever you're playing around with. But you can do it that way using resampling. So we've created a bass line, we've got some sample chops, we've got some drums. We're going to need to add some little bits of spice and some detail. So I think some kind of sound effects. What have we got here? We got some transition effects. Let's maybe try some of these. Some of these are crazy loud. I'm going to load that one up. Yeah, kind of, I like that feel of it. Pitch it down a bit though, so it's a little slower. Although actually, maybe. I'm gonna take a little bit of the dead space off. Just record it in. I'm going to make sure it's a one shot. I'm going to turn the volume down. It's too loud. And we're going to send it through to, let's do bus B, where we've still got a delay set up from before. Actually, maybe even bus C. Let's change it to bus C. Okay, good enough. So we've got that little noise in there. Let's see what else we've got in here. Breath noise is pretty cool. Way too loud, but I like the noise and probably the placement. Yeah, all pretty good. I want to show you another little trick that we can do with Koala Sampler and other applications. So far, I've said this in other videos, the ones that I know that work are the audio kit applications. Now, we've got a bunch of empty pads still that we're not using, and that's kind of important. What we want to do is we want to take some of these empty pads and we want to fill that MIDI out for the entire length. And I can do that a bunch of different times. And the reason we're going to do that is because we're going to use other applications to kind of automatically send audio into Koala. There's one other thing I need to make sure. If we go to settings, I want to go to audio. Background audio needs to be turned on. And what that means, if you're not familiar with that, is that when we're playing Koala, if we close it down and we open something else, you can still hear Koala at the same time. So we're going to keep that. I'm just going to close this thing because I don't want Numa Player open. But we are going to choose another synth. And Audio Kit stuff works really well because it has a record button in there. So I just got this new one. I think this is Viral Synth. The problem here is that it's a... oh, actually, this one sort of works in landscape, in portrait mode. Sometimes with these audio kit applications, they only work in landscape orientation, but this one actually works in portrait mode, so that's pretty cool. So what we can do, we can be playing Koala Sampler, our beat, and we can be playing around with these synth presets or whatever if you want to start tweaking it. So let's just try and find something we like. That one sounds pretty cool. That might be a nice little background layer to what we got going on. So quickly, we'll just hop back over to Koala, set this off, go back to our synth. And let's say that's what I want. I want to record that in. So we're going to use the record button inside of the other application, and then it's going to allow us to send that audio over into Koala. Now you can do that and it will just send it to the pad, which is okay. You know, you can just have it on the pad. But if you've put the MIDI in place, we can actually use this like a little bit of a looper. I have shown this in other videos dedicated to this process, but let's just do it. So we'll get this play. I'll have to try and remember what it was I just played. I think it was... yeah, I like that. So I'm going to press record here. It doesn't start recording until I hit the first key. Just going to leave it long enough, and then I'm going to stop the recording. So I want it longer than essentially what my loop is. And then you'll notice here, I can send it to Koala Sampler. And there we go. It's playing inside a Koala Sampler because the MIDI is already there. So it's a really nice little way of building stuff up because we can just go back to that synth and we can find something else and we can do exactly the same thing. Obviously, I'm stopping the audio periodically so that we can chat without me having to fight over the audio. But really, that's what we're doing. We're just sending it around and sending it around. So let's do that. Let's keep this playing. If I want to adjust the volume and stuff, I can. I might turn it down a little bit. But we've got that nice little detail. Find something else over here. That's pretty cool noise. Pretty loud. Make sure again it's long enough for the loop. Send it to Koala Sampler. Now, you may have noticed the problem there. When I recorded it, I want this particular pad, this recording, to come in at a very specific point. But that's nice and simple. We just move the MIDI track to wherever we think it should start. So I left a little bit of space. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to play it back. But let's say I want to move it over here. So it's not there. It might even be at the beginning of the second bar. And actually, it's not. It's just before the second bar. It should be here. There we go. We're just taking those two extra layers from other applications. And it was really a doddle to do it. So there we go. I think what we'll do, we'll put one little vocal sample thing in this and we'll play out a little bit on the beat, but I'm going to leave it there for today's episode. I didn't want to do anything too long. Just wanted to do it live in real time so you can see the exact process and show you a couple of tips and tricks along the way. Let's find that vocal sample. I'll just choose something that I've recorded previously. Might have even used it in another video. Let's go to vocals and see what we've got. We've got this one here that I need to rename because I called it Soken Word when it should be Spoken Word.
Do you like that? Did you, drop acid a little earlier tonight?
Classic sample. You probably know who that is if you're into old movies. And what we'll do, we'll turn that down a little bit. Might even pitch it down a bit.
Did you, drop acid a little earlier tonight?
And I'm going to send that through to some sort of bus. We might even just use bus. Let's try bus B.
Did you,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't want it, let's put it, double this up to 4 bars and record in here.
Did you, drop acid a little earlier?
Now, because we pre-prepped all the MIDI, that's just coming in because it thinks that's where we want it. So we'll actually get rid of these other MIDI clips that we don't need. Created a bunch of stuff there that we don't want. And let's try again. Still playing it. I clearly didn't delete that MIDI out. Where is it? Is that because it's on a different pad?
Did you,
sorry. My bad. It's on this one. Let's put it in here.
Did you, drop acid a little earlier? Did you, drop acid a little earlier? Did you, drop acid a little earlier?
And there we have it. I'm going to play out on the beat. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.